Unexpected love revealed. How a nurse's heartwarming kiss transformed a billionaire's life forever. Alex darted through the hospital corridors, her white shoes squeaking against the polished floor. The scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air as cries and laughter blended, a chaotic orchestra composing the soundtrack of her busy life. With every pulse of her heart, she felt the weight of her family's bills clawing at her spirit. A million thoughts danced in her mind, yet she kept her focus on the patients who needed her. Each bandage wrapped, each comforting word shared, a step towards brighter tomorrows. But behind that bright smile, exhaustion shadowed her eyes, blurring the line between commitment and sacrifice. Meanwhile, in the glimmering heart of the city, Caleb lurked within the walls of his expansive mansion, where echoes of laughter felt like ghosts. His world was opulent yet empty, each room filled with expensive furnishings but devoid of warmth. The pressure to uphold his family's legacy stifled him like a noose. He flipped through old photographs of happier times, feeling the emotional walls around him grow thicker. Despite his wealth, isolation gnawed at him relentlessly, leaving him wondering if real joy was just a mirage. Fate intervened when the local hospital organized a community event aimed at supporting veterans. Caleb thought he could make a difference, though he pretended to care about the cause while merely stepping into a world that felt foreign. As he walked through the bustling hall, he felt out of place among the compassion and camaraderie that hummed through the crowd. Then he met Alex. Their initial encounter was clumsy. Caleb saw her fierce dedication in her eyes, a stark contrast to the feudal glamour of his life. She saw a man shrouded in privilege, oblivious to the struggles around him. The tension crackled as they exchanged awkward words, each quick glance revealing their biases, yet neither dared to reveal their true selves. Suddenly, chaos erupted when one of the veterans collapsed, prompting an uproar among the staff. Alex raced towards the commotion, her heart pounding in her chest. The sight of the loved ones around the veteran, fear and anguish radiating from them, triggered an instinctive response in her. If there had ever been a moment to ask for help, it was now. She turned to Caleb, her eyes shining through the storm of emotions swirling around them. "Please, I need your help," she cried, reaching out in desperation. Without knowing why, Caleb stepped forward, drawn to her fierce resolve. They worked together, focused, each breath in sync as adrenaline surged around them. Then, in the midst of the chaos, with the weight of the world pressing on their shoulders, Alex leaned in and kissed him briskly. It was a fleeting spark, alive with compassion, raw vulnerability, and a longing for connection that seemed to stop time. The kiss sent waves of warmth coursing through Caleb, shattering the isolation that gripped him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Alex pulled back, breathless, her heart thundering as she realized the magnitude of what had just happened. In that moment, they stood on the precipice of something beautiful yet terrifying. Their lives intertwined by circumstance, their worlds separated by invisible barriers of class and expectation. Could empathy bridge the chasm that divided their souls? As the hospital buzzed back to life around them, the blend of hope and uncertainty hung in the air. Would their unexpected connection be enough to heal not only their wounds but open doors to undiscovered futures? The question lingered, leaving them both yearning for answers that they knew would change everything. The moment felt like it stretched into eternity. Caleb blinked, trying to process what had just happened. Alex's lips brushed against his, igniting something deep within him, a spark he thought had faded long ago. The world around them seemed to dim, fading into a muted blur, leaving just the two of them suspended in a kaleidoscope of emotions. Alex broke her gaze first, a flush creeping up her cheeks as reality settled in. She was a nurse dedicated to her patients, yet here she was, wrapped up in an unexpected kiss with a man who had once felt like a distant silhouette. A cocktail of embarrassment and exhilaration coursed through her veins. Did she just cross an invisible line? Her heart raced as she stepped back slightly, yearning for a semblance of composure. "Wow," Caleb finally whispered, the shell of his vocal confidence momentarily shattered. The warmth of Alex's kiss lingered on his skin, a stark contrast to the cold walls of solitude he had built around himself. "I am sorry," Alex stammered, her breath hitching. "I didn't mean to." Caleb's brow furrowed in confusion. "But He cut himself off, suddenly aware of curious eyes around them. The crowd, having regained their composure after the chaos, watched with intrigue. "Let us talk," Caleb said, his voice steady now, though his heart thumped wildly. He took a step toward the exit, glancing back to see if she would follow. Alex hesitated, caught between her duties at the hospital and the undeniable pull towards this man with a billion-dollar facade layered over a soul searching for connection. But curiosity won. "Okay," she whispered, and her heart fluttered as she moved after him. They stepped outside, the brisk air wrapping around them like a bomb, chasing away the remnants of tension left in that crowded hall. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, the sunset a beautiful contrast to the strife they had both witnessed inside. Caleb leaned against the wall, his gaze fixed beyond the crowd, but his mind was anchored to Alex. "You're different," he finally said, breaking the silence. "You care. I remember being like that once, passionate and full of purpose." Alex studied him intently, searching for signs of the vulnerability that had revealed itself in that fleeting moment. "And what happened?" she asked softly, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Her curiosity breaking through the initial awkwardness. He sighed, weighed down by the expectations of his family, his voice tinged with regret. "I was raised to succeed, to chase profit, but I've lost sight of what truly matters." Something shifted in his mind, a flicker of hope sparking. "Being with you, it feels real. Different. I don't want to lose that." The honesty in his words resonated with Alex. "It's scary though. You and I come from entirely different worlds. You're a billionaire and I'm just me, a nurse barely making ends meet." "Just a nurse?" Caleb's voice rose in disbelief. "You are so much more than that. You bring hope and kindness where it's needed most. That's a rare gift." For a moment the walls around them crumbled. Caleb saw not just a nurse, but the heartbeat of community. Alex saw not just a billionaire, but a man hungry for connection and meaning. Would the bridge they were building withstand the weight of their realities? Before either could respond, a commotion erupted in the distance, shattering their moment. A child's cry pierced the air, bringing Alex back to the present. The urgent pull of her professional duties tugged at her heart. "I need to go check on my patients," she said reluctantly, the weight of responsibility vying for her attention. Caleb nodded, understanding the emotion behind her words. "Will you meet me again?" There was a longing in his voice that sent a thrill through her. "Of course," she replied, a reassuring smile breaking through, even as uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "But we have a lot to figure out." As their eyes locked, a promise hung between them, fragile yet full of possibility. They both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Navigating their worlds would come with trials, but perhaps, just perhaps, their unexpected love was worth pursuing. Would they step forward together? Or would their differences pull them apart? The question loomed, teasing the edges of their newfound bond, eager for answers. The chill in the evening air was brisk against Alex's cheeks as she hurried back inside, her heart still racing from the encounter with Caleb. His words echoed in her mind. How could she mean so much to someone like him? As she moved through the brightly lit corridors of the hospital, her focus shifted back to her responsibilities, the adrenaline from earlier giving way to the weight of reality. She entered the pediatric ward, greeted by the familiar sounds of beeping machines and the muffled chatter of nurses. The scent of antiseptic flooded her senses. But all she could think about was Caleb and the warmth of that fleeting kiss. "Hey Alex," called out Emma, her coworker, as she approached the nurse's station, her voice light and teasing. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What's up? Found a secret lover?" Emma waggled her eyebrows, a playful grin spreading across her face. Alex blushed, shaking her head. "Nothing like that," she said, though her heart betrayed her, racing at the thought of Caleb. After checking on her patients, Alex couldn't shake the feeling of being torn. Here she was, devoted to saving lives, yet a part of her craved something more, something Caleb seemed to ignite in her. His world, filled with wealth and expectations, felt worlds apart, yet his vulnerability beckoned to her. Why did it feel like they were meant to connect? When her shift finally ended, Alex found herself pacing the small break room, the fluorescent lights humming overhead. She fished her phone out of her pocket, the screen lighting up with a single message from Caleb. "Can we meet tomorrow? I can't stop thinking about what you said." The flutter in her stomach was undeniable. Did he truly mean it? She hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. Should she respond with enthusiasm or play it cool? Before she could second-guess herself, she typed back quickly. "Yes, let us meet. I'll be off at 5. The anticipation of seeing him again sent her heart pounding anew. How would it feel to be in his presence, to delve deeper into the connection they had started to build? She walked to her car, thoughts swirling. What would they talk about? Would they share the weight of their worlds? Or would it dissolve into small talk interspersed with unresolved feelings? Deep down, Alex knew they needed to confront the reality of their situations. As she drove home, shadows lengthened across the road, mirroring the uncertainty ahead. Truths loomed large. Her job was demanding, with children relying on her care, while Caleb stood at the precipice of a corporate world that expected him to push forward. But maybe that was the point of their connection. They could learn from each other, bring balance where there was none. Could a nurse and a billionaire navigate their separate lives to find common ground? The next morning came too swiftly, and Alex prepared for the day with an uneasy heart. She threw on her scrubs, glanced in the mirror, and reminded herself that she wasn't just a nurse. She was a person with dreams and desires. Their designated meeting spot was a quiet cafe, a small table nestled in a nook surrounded by potted plants. As she waited for Caleb, nerves twisted in her stomach, fear mingling with a thrill of excitement. Would their connection deepen or would reality pull them apart? As the door swung open and Caleb stepped in, dressed casually yet effortlessly handsome, the air between them seemed to crackle with anticipation. He spotted her, a smile breaking across his face, but she couldn't shake the feeling that both of them stood on the edge of something monumental. "Hey," he said, approaching with a warmth that felt like home. "Hey," she replied, heart pounding as he slid into the seat across from her. The casual chatter faded. They locked eyes, silence enveloping them. The question remained unspoken yet heavy. Would they be brave enough to dive into the depths of their respective worlds? Before they could begin, the barista approached, interrupting their moment. "What can I get for you?" But in that instant, Alex felt the weight of hidden truths and unasked questions pressing down. Would they be able to confront what lay ahead? Or would fear drive them apart? Caleb's eyes darkened with concern. "Let us order and get to the heart of this." And Alex knew that this meeting could redefine everything. The stakes had never felt higher. What revelations awaited them? The barista left, and for a moment, silence thickened in the air, filled with unspoken emotions. Caleb leaned forward, his gaze steady on Alex. "So, about last night," he began, his voice low and sincere. "I've been thinking about you a lot." Alex felt a rush of warmth spread through her, but with it came a sharp edge of anxiety. What did that mean? She fiddled with the hem of her scrub top, seeking comfort in the familiar fabric. "Me too," she finally admitted, her voice slightly wavering. "But we need to be realistic." Caleb's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "Your life, Caleb, it's so different from mine." She took a breath, steadying herself. "You're facing pressures I can't even imagine. And I've built my world here. In this hospital where I'm needed." "Needed?" he echoed, disbelief flickering in his eyes. "You make it sound like you're the only one saving lives. I know you want to help, but you're pulled in every direction. There are expectations on you. Things I can't understand," she interrupted gently. "How can we make this work?" He reached across the table, his hand brushing against hers, sending a jolt of electricity up her arm. "I want to try, Alex. I'm not just some billionaire living in a bubble. I feel something real with you. You ground me. I need that." Alex's pulse quickened. The truth in his words stirred a flicker of hope within her. But it battled against her doubts, her fears of the unknown. "But if we dive into this, we risk losing everything if it doesn't work out." Caleb leaned back, a pensive look on his face. "Or it could be the best thing that ever happened to us." His eyes searched hers for understanding. "What if we lean into the uncertainty together? It might be scary, but isn't that life?" Just then the cafe felt suffocatingly close. The chatter of customers and the clinking of dishes faded into the background as Alex wrestled with her emotions. Her heart was torn, trying to balance the desires that bloomed in her chest against the responsibilities she felt to her career and her patients. "I don't know," she whispered, uncertainty looming like a storm cloud over them. Caleb's gaze softened, his voice dropping an octave. "It's okay to be scared, Alex. But sometimes that's what makes us feel alive. We have one life, let us not live it locked away in safe boxes." A rush of feelings overtook her. Could he be right? Could they step outside their comfort zones and truly explore this connection? She felt a yearning for freedom, the thrill of the unknown, and the intoxicating promise of what could be. Just then her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the tension. Both of them froze, the moment fractured. She glanced at the screen, an urgent message from the hospital. "I have to take this," she said reluctantly, lifting the phone. Caleb's expression shifted, the vulnerability replaced with uncertainty. "Of course." She stood up quickly, her heart racing for a different reason now. As she read the message, the familiar weight of her responsibilities settled back on her shoulders. Alex glanced up, trying to read Caleb's face. The connection they had begun to forge felt like it was slipping through her fingers. "I'll be right back," she promised, but doubt clung to her words. Would they still be on this path when she returned? Or would the distance drawn by reality pull them apart irrevocably? As she stepped outside to take the call, the door swung shut behind her. She paused for a moment, looking back at Caleb. His face was a mix of concern and longing, and in that split second, she knew the stakes were higher than either of them had anticipated. Could she really embrace this connection with all its risks? Could they both brave the storms ahead? Or were they destined to remain ships passing in the night? The question lingered as she took her call, leaving her torn between her heart's desire and her soul's obligations. The true test lay in whether she was ready to take that leap into the unknown. When she returned, would the moment still be there, waiting? Would they have the courage to face whatever came next? Alex stepped outside into the crisp morning air, her breath forming small clouds as she dialed the hospital's number. The world around her seemed to fade, muffled by the steady thump of her heartbeat. With every ring, her thoughts returned to Caleb, to the way he had looked at her, expecting her to dive headfirst into the unknown with him. "Alex, we need you in the ER." The voice on the other end said urgently, pulling her back into the moment. "We've got an incoming trauma case. Can you come in?" "On my way," she replied, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. It was what she lived for, saving lives, making a difference. But even as she agreed, a part of her resented being pulled back into the reality of her responsibilities, away from the warmth of connection she felt with Caleb. She hung up and took a deep breath, searching for strength. Her heart was torn between duty and desire. Caleb had lit a fire within her, a longing for something more than what her life had been. But here was the stark reality. She had a career that demanded every bit of her attention. She walked back into the cafe, her focus shifted back to Caleb, who was now staring out the window, deep in thought. His profile was strong, yet there was a vulnerability in the way his brow furrowed. For a fleeting moment, she imagined what it would be like to lose the safety net of their roles. What if they just let it all go and embraced whatever this was between them? "Caleb," she started, her voice shaky yet filled with determination. The door to the cafe swung open, and an older woman walked in, her face pale. Alex immediately recognized her from the hospital. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" she called out. The woman's eyes were wide with fear. "My husband, he collapsed. He needs help." Caleb stood as if he had been jolted awake. Without hesitation he called over his shoulder to Alex, "I'll get the car." The urgency of the moment swept them both up. Alex moved quickly, instinct kicking in as she rushed toward the woman, her mind racing with medical protocols. "Let us get to the hospital. Can you take a deep breath for me?" The woman nodded, still trembling. As they stepped outside, Caleb was already waiting, the engine of his car roaring softly. It felt as if the world had narrowed down to this mission, focusing on saving a life, pushing aside her own trepidations about what loomed over her and Caleb. The drive to the hospital was swift. Inside the car, the tension was palpable. "You did good, Alex," Caleb said, his voice steady, but concern shimmered in his eyes. "You were calm." "That's my job," she replied softly, but the reality crashed down around her. She was good at saving lives, but was she ready to save this connection with Caleb? When they arrived, the atmosphere was frenetic. Alex jumped from the car, instinct kicking in as they hurried the woman to the emergency room. The rush of adrenaline drowned out her thoughts, but as she glanced back, she saw Caleb standing at the entrance, watching her. There was pride etched into his features, mixed with an understanding that made her heart race. For the first time, she felt the weight of her choices. Did she want to choose safety, or did she dare to embrace the messy, beautiful chaos of love? The question echoed in her mind as she guided the woman to a nurse waiting at the doors, her heart yearning for both the woman she was and the one she could become alongside Caleb's warmth. As the doors swung shut behind them, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. Was she strong enough to stand in this gap between two worlds? And even more pressing, would Caleb be there waiting when she emerged? The uncertainty wrapped around her like an old, familiar blanket as she entered the whirlwind of her medical life once again. But now a new question hung in the air: what future could they build together? If only she dared to reach for it? The blaring lights in the emergency room pulsed like a living heartbeat. Alex felt the familiar rush of urgency wash over her as she triaged the incoming patient. The older woman, still trembling, stood in the hallway, her face etched with worry. "Stay right here," Alex reassured her, her voice steady. She moved quickly, springing into action with the confidence born from years of experience. The chaos buzzed around her, the sound of equipment beeping, nurses calling for supplies, and the distant echo of hurried footsteps. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to get lost in the intensity of it all, pushing aside her thoughts of Caleb and the connection they shared. Inside the treatment room, Alex focused on saving the man's life. She could feel her adrenaline surging as she interacted with the medical team, guiding them through each step. "We need a line," she called out, her voice cutting through the noise. The team responded in unison, their efficient movements a testament to years of training. But amidst the crisis, a nagging thought loomed. What about Caleb? How would their lives intertwine when the dust settled? Finally, the patient stabilized, and Alex stepped out to catch her breath. The moment she did, she spotted Caleb waiting just outside the treatment room. He wore a worried expression, his brows slightly furrowed. It tightened her chest to see him there, a silent pillar of support even in such chaos. "Is he going to be okay?" Caleb's voice was low, filled with concern. "For now, yes," she replied, relief coloring her tone. "We managed to stabilize him, but it's touch and go." She hesitated, her thoughts racing back to their unfinished conversation. "Thank you for being there." Caleb studied her for a moment, then stepped closer. "You were incredible in there, Alex. You always are." The compliment sent a warmth flooding through her, battling the remnants of adrenaline still thrumming in her veins. She forced a smile, trying to dispel the tension. "Didn't you get the memo? It's all in a day's work." But Caleb's expression shifted. There was a vulnerability in his gaze that drew her in. "Alex, I know we're both focused on our jobs, but I can't ignore what's happening between us. Not anymore." Her heart raced as he took a step closer, the air between them crackling with unspoken words. "Feel it too. But let us not talk about logistics or duty right now," he interrupted softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let us talk about us." Before she could respond, a frantic nurse rushed past them, breaking their moment. Caleb's face fell slightly, signaling the reality that their worlds always seemed to collide just when they needed to connect the most. Alex began again. But their moment slipped away as the demands of the hospital surged around them. "Hey," Caleb said, his tone more serious. "After this, let us grab a coffee. I want to really talk to figure things out." The invitation wrapped around her heart like a lifeline, giving her a fleeting sense of hope. "I'd like that," she replied, a soft smile creeping onto her face. But even as they exchanged promises amidst the chaos, doubt flickered in the back of her mind. Could she really step away from the life that demanded so much of her? And what if she embraced this connection with Caleb, only to find it too fragile to hold? As the emergency room began to settle, she took a deep breath. She had navigated so many crises. Now she faced a different kind. Was she truly brave enough to step into uncharted waters? The question lingered, heavy and complex, as they moved back into the whirlwind of the hospital, the connection between them simmering in an uncertain future. What awaited them after the shift ended? Would she dare to leap, or would she let fear snuff out the flame Caleb had ignited? In the corner of her mind, a thought wrestled for attention. What if somehow in this journey of healing and caring for others, She found a way to heal herself too. Alex's heart raced as she walked back into the emergency room. The buzz of activity wrapped around her, a constant reminder of the lives depending on her. But the thought of the coffee date with Caleb lingered in her mind, a flicker of warmth amid the chaos. She had a shift to finish, and the hospital thrummed like a restless beast needing its caretakers. Her instincts kicked in as she rebounded, attending to a new patient, a young man with a severe cut on his arm. She maintained a calm demeanor, skillfully stitching him up, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Caleb. Would he really understand the pressure she felt? Would he still be there after her chaotic shifts? Forcing herself to focus, she noted the man's pain and comforted him with soft words. "You're going to be okay. We're almost done." The gentle pressure of her hands as she worked brought a sense of purpose, a distraction from the brewing storm in her mind. When she finally wrapped up her shift, fatigue washed over her. She felt drained but exhilarated, with the coffee date looming like a promise. As she emerged from the treatment area, the fluorescent lights glared over her, reminding her of the stark reality of life inside the hospital. It was then she noticed Caleb leaning against the wall, arms crossed, a nervous energy radiating off him. "Hey," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Hey," Alex replied, her smile breaking through her fatigue like the sun slicing through storm clouds. "Ready for that coffee?" "Absolutely. I need a caffeine fix," he chuckled, but his tone carried a deeper anticipation. They stepped out of the hospital, the cool evening air wrapping around them like a blanket. The world beyond the emergency room felt different. Every sound, the chirp of a passing car, the laughter of young couples was amplified. It was as if they had crossed into another dimension, one where their lives could intermingle in ways untouched by the hospital's demands. "I found a little cafe down the street," Caleb said, leading the way. "The owner makes his own pastries. You'll love it." As they chatted, the comfortable banter began to flow, easing the tension of the day. With every shared smile and casual touch of hands, Alex felt the walls of vulnerability begin to crack. They sat in a cozy corner of the cafe, warm light illuminating their faces. "Did you always want to be a nurse?" Caleb asked, genuinely curious. Alex thought for a moment. "I think I always wanted to make a difference. Even as a kid, I bandage up my dolls. There's something incredibly fulfilling about helping others heal. That's part of what makes you so amazing," Caleb said, leaning in closer. "You're not just saving lives. You're giving hope." His sincerity shocked her. She felt seen in a way she hadn't anticipated. "Thank you. It means a lot coming from you." Caleb smiled, but there was a tension in the air that shifted the mood. "What about you? The billionaire's life, was that always the plan?" His question hung there, laced with unspoken worries. "Honestly, it was expected. Family business, high expectations. But I often wonder if it's what I really want." The moment stretched, their pasts laid bare between them. They shared a silent connection, both on the brink of something uncharted. But before the conversation could deepen, the door swung open, and an incoming gust rattled their table, pulling them from their moment. People flowed in, filling the small space with chatter, laughter, and the clatter of dishes. Caleb's expression shifted, the weight of reality settling back on their shoulders. "We can talk more about this later?" he suggested hesitantly. "Of course," Alex replied, but suddenly the warmth they had built seemed fragile, like glass on the edge of the table. As Caleb reached out to take her hand, a soft brush of fingers, Alex felt a spark. That familiar rush of urgency returned, but this time it wasn't just from the demands of the hospital. It was something different, something deeper. "Alex," he started, his voice low, almost drowned out by the lively cafe noises. "I think we have something worth pursuing." She took a breath, uncertainty creeping back in. What if this was just a beautiful moment that wouldn't survive in the harsh light of their realities? And as they sat there with possibilities swirling in the air, a new thought tormented her. Would taking a chance on Caleb mean risking everything she worked for? The question lingered like a shadow, heavy and complex, as they exchanged glances that spoke of untold stories and uncharted paths. Would it be worth diving into the unknown, even if they didn't know where the currents would take them? Alex could feel the thrill of the unknown. Was she brave enough to explore this connection that both terrified and exhilarated her? Caleb's eyes searched Alex's face, looking for a hint, a sign of what she was thinking. For a moment, the scent of fresh coffee and pastries faded into the background, And it was just them two souls standing on the brink of something beautiful yet frightening. "Hey," he said gently, as if afraid of breaking the delicate moment. "We don't have to rush into anything. I don't want to pressure you." Alex's heart pounded in her chest. She wasn't ready to pull away from this connection. She could sense a bond building, one that promised warmth, understanding, and maybe even something more significant. But the weight of her responsibilities tugged at her mind, reminding her of the hectic shifts ahead and the pressure to succeed. "I appreciate that," she said slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But the truth is I just don't know." The warmth in Caleb's gaze dimmed just slightly, but only for a flicker of a moment. "That's okay. We can take it slow." He leaned back, giving her space, but it only made her want to lean closer. She could see the conflict within him, and it mirrored her own. In that cozy cafe, surrounded by laughter, they both felt isolated, trapped between the excitement of their budding connection and the realities of their worlds. "Tell me more about you," Alex suggested, hoping to shift the focus from the weight of their unanswered questions. "Me? Well, I'm still trying to figure it out," he chuckled, a lightness returning to his tone. "There's a lot of expectation on me too. The family business is a lot to handle. But right now I'm trying to carve out a path where I can still be myself. No pressure or anything, right?" Alex joked, smiling, and she appreciated he could recognize her need for levity. "Honestly, it just feels like a constant balancing act," Caleb said, his brow furrowing as he glanced at the cafe's bustling atmosphere. "Like I have all these responsibilities pulling me one way, and I often want to take a step back and do what I enjoy. Sometimes I crave that simplicity." Alex understood that craving. The hospital was her world, chaotic yet comforting, but it was almost suffocating sometimes. The thought of stepping outside that space, even for a moment, terrified her. But Caleb's presence began to challenge that notion. "What do you enjoy?" she asked, genuinely curious. "Traveling," he replied, his eyes lighting up. "I love exploring new places and just wandering without a plan. I've met some incredible people that way. Maybe we could wander together someday," Alex blurted, surprised by her own words. He chuckled, his laughter warm and inviting. "Are you proposing a spontaneous road trip? That sounds quite fun." They shared a light moment, but the weight of previous conversations hung between them. Alex's heart knew she wanted to pursue this spark they had ignited, but her mind raced with reasons why she shouldn't. Before she could respond, Caleb reached across the table, taking her hand in his. The warmth of his skin sent a thrill up her arm. "Alex, what if we just take it one day at a time? No expectations, just seeing where this goes?" Alex's breath caught in her throat. Did he really mean it? This uncharted territory felt both exhilarating and terrifying. She could almost taste the sweetness of what was possible. As she looked into his earnest eyes, uncertainty swirled, but something deeper resonated within her. Would giving in to this connection set her free or bind her to another kind of chaos? The cafe door swung open again, and a gust of wind swept through, chilling the air momentarily and bringing with it a group of boisterous friends. The interruption jolted them from their moment, shattering the fragile bubble around them. Caleb's thumb gently traced circles on her palm as he leaned in closer, his voice barely above the noise. "Whatever happens, I just want to know you, Alex." Something in his words ignited a flame within her, courage blooming amidst her fears. But just as her heart began to open, a loud laugh resonated from the entrance, snapping her back to the present. Alex took a shaky breath. "Let's just enjoy this moment for now, okay?" "Okay," Caleb replied, a twinkle of hope in his eyes. And as they sat together, a sense of possibility filled the space around them. Yet deep down, Alex felt the weight of a storm brewing on the horizon, the tension of decisions yet to be made. Could she really let her heart lead the way? The answer hung in the air, the thrill of love mingling with the fear of losing everything she had worked for. Would taking this leap of faith lead to a love worth holding on to? Or would the pressures of their lives drag them back into the chaos? As she caught his eye, a surge of determination welled within her. This was just the beginning, and when it came to matters of the heart, Alex was ready to dive into the unknown, no matter where it might lead. The laughter from the cafe's entrance washed over them, a reminder of the world outside their intimate bubble. But still, the warmth of Caleb's hand sent ripples through Alex's thoughts, igniting memories of late-night shifts and the soothing beeps of machines. Here with him, those burdens faded into the background, blurring until they felt almost surreal. What do you think about when you travel? Alex asked, captivating herself with this direction in the conversation. It was as if she needed to understand how his thoughts drifted, how they navigated the landscape of hope and dreams. Caleb leaned forward slightly, the hint of a smile playing on his lips. I think about the people I meet and the conversations that give my life color. Each place has its own essence and I love soaking it all in. His excitement rippled through the air, lifting her spirits. Makes me feel so alive. Alive, she echoed, a shiver of possibility dancing down her spine. She wanted to feel that same rush. Could she extract herself from the routine? Just as she reached for that fleeting notion, a wave of doubt crashed in. Do you want to travel? She asked, carefully choosing her words, as if inviting him to step into a realm where their dreams might overlap. More than anything. But it's hard to break free, Caleb replied, the light in his eyes dimming momentarily. But talking about it helps. Maybe one day I'll actually do it. Alex could feel the tension, the unarticulated yearning they both shared. I get it, she said, her voice firm. But it doesn't have to be grand. Even little escapes from the everyday can be freeing. As if inspired by her words, Caleb's smile broadened. How about we make a plan? A day trip? Nothing crazy, just the two of us exploring somewhere new. What do you think? A thrill shot through her at the prospect. Her heart speeded up, and the idea of throwing caution to the wind ignited something deep within her. Here was an adventure waiting to unfold, right at their fingertips. Okay, she said, her voice steady despite her racing thoughts. I'm in. Caleb's expression shifted, surprise morphing into undeniable delight. Really? You're up for this? Yeah, why not? The confidence in her own voice surprised even her. This was her chance to step outside the chaos and perhaps let more of the light in. Great. Let us make a list of places we could go, he said, grabbing a napkin and a pen from the table. His energy was contagious, pulling her right into his excitement. As he scribbled down names of nearby towns and parks, Alex felt a warmth spread through her chest. But just as the conversation flowed, an anxious thought bubbled to the surface. What if it doesn't work out? What if this is just a fleeting moment? Caleb paused mid-sentence, looking directly into her eyes. But what if it becomes something incredible? Life is too short to be afraid of taking chances. His words wrapped around her, pushing her uncertainty aside. She suddenly wanted to embrace the unknown, to let this unexpected connection flourish. As they finalized potential destinations, laughter bubbled between them, vibrant and unrestrained. The cafe around them continued to buzz, but all she could focus on was the tantalizing idea of what lay ahead. But even amidst their light-hearted conversation, a part of Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. The weight of their realities hadn't disappeared, it lingered like a storm cloud in the distance. Are you excited? Caleb asked, his eyes sparkling. More than I thought I would be, she answered, though her mind battled with what this new adventure could mean. Just as doubt threatened to seep back in, a vivid thought emerged. I just hope I can manage this, my life and whatever this is. We'll figure it out together, right? Caleb reassured, squeezing her hand, grounding her once again. Together, she murmured, letting the words sink in. The door swung open, another gust of wind rushing in as laughter spilled across their table once more. Caleb's grip lingered for a breath longer, and her heart skipped in response. But deep inside her, beneath the flutter of excitement, dread curled its fingers. What would happen when the chaos of their realities came knocking again? Let us meet tomorrow to plan more, Alex suggested. Her voice hesitant yet hopeful. Caleb nodded, and the twinkle in his gaze promised something more. As they finished their coffee, Alex felt a surge of determination to see where this path could lead. But little did she know, tomorrow would bring more than just plans. A revelation awaited them both, one that might just change everything. The next day arrived with a mix of bright sunlight and restless anticipation. Alex stood at her bathroom mirror, steadying herself for the challenges and possibilities ahead. She could hear the gentle hum of the city outside, a reminder of the real world beckoning her return. But today was different. It was a day for dreams, for exploration, and most importantly, it was a day for Caleb. As she slipped on her scrubs for her shift, her heart fluttered with the thrill of their adventure. Just the thought of spending time with him, planning their little getaway, sent ripples of excitement coursing through her. But a nagging thought remained: would they truly find a way to bridge their two vastly different worlds? After a long shift filled with unexpected emergencies, the clock finally ticked toward the end of her duties. She felt exhilarated yet nervous as she prepared to meet Caleb again. Their chosen cafe was buzzing with life as people filled the tables, laughter weaving through the air. Alex arrived just a few minutes early, her heart beating swiftly, and scanned the room. She spotted Caleb immediately, leaning against the barista-esque counter, looking effortlessly charming in jeans and a fitted shirt. As their gazes locked, a smile broke across his face, lighting up the space around him. He pushed away from the counter and made his way to her, his presence sending warmth curling through her. "Hey, I was worried you wouldn't make it," he teased as they settled into a cozy corner booth. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," Alex said, the smile spreading wider across her face. They spent the next hour immersed in plans for their adventure, mapping out scenic routes, discussing what sights to see, and packing food for their outing. Each shared laugh felt like a tether, binding them closer together. "I can't wait to see the sunset over the lake," he said with a grin. "And the stars afterward. I haven't actually stargazed in years." "Well, we'll have to make up for lost time," he replied, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. The jovial energy between them felt electric, but then a sudden weight pressed against Alex's chest, slicing through her joy. "Caleb," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "we haven't really talked about how we're really going to handle our worlds. I don't want you to feel tied down to something expected." He paused, the carefree mood shifting. "I know," he said slowly, searching her face for reassurance, "but I want to try. To have something real and meaningful." "I do too," she took a deep breath, the weight of familiar concerns creeping back. "But what if this becomes too much? My life here is demanding. And what about your responsibilities? You think I want to stay stuck in that life forever?" "I'm done feeling like a puppet on strings," he said, frustration growing in his eyes. "And you were right about needing balance. We can find a way." The tension permeated the air, wrapping around them both. "Can we really?" she whispered, uncertainty trickling back into her heart. "We're already figuring it out, Alex. Together we can navigate this. I felt lost until you came into my life, and now I'm starting to remember what it feels like to be alive." His voice wove a thread through her worries, giving her the courage to embrace the unknown. Before they could delve deeper, Alex's phone buzzed on the table, a reminder of her responsibilities. She glanced at the screen, but her attention flickered back to Caleb. They needed to confront this issue before heading into the unknown together. "I can't keep putting this off. We have to decide if we're all in." Caleb nodded, his expression serious yet hopeful. "I'm all in, Alex. Just take my hand and let us figure it out together." In that moment, as their fingers entwined, a sense of peace washed over her. With a deep breath, Alex felt an unshakable determination surging within her. Love was worth the risk. Love was worth fighting for. They planned their little adventure, mapping out their dreams on napkins between them, a blend of laughter, sunshine, and heartbeats. Under the warm glow of the cafe lights, they made a promise not just to themselves but to each other to cherish this connection and take that leap forward. As they finished their coffee, the weight of their previous anxieties began to fade. The tension that had hung over them transformed into shared excitement for what lay ahead. "I can't wait," Alex grinned, her heart feeling lighter. "Me neither," Caleb replied, squeezing her hand tightly. Together they stood at the threshold of something magical, something they would shape with each brave choice and daring leap. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the world, they walked out of the cafe, stepping into life anew, ready to embrace their intertwined futures and the surprises that lay ahead. Their hearts, now entwined, began to beat in unison, promising countless adventures as they ventured forward together. And in that moment, Alex realized the greatest transformation hadn't been about leaving behind one part of her life for another. It was about the courage to embrace what comes next, not as separate lives, but as two inextricable paths weaving toward a shared dream. The journey had just begun, and she was ready for every step alongside Caleb. Now this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us know you enjoyed this journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Go, go, go!